Never before has a UFC light heavyweight champion moved up to challenge the heavyweight champion. Oh, he hurt him! Oh, Cormier knocks Miocic down! Daniel Cormier is the UFC heavyweight champion! The rematch is upon us. Stipe Miocic with a chance to regain the UFC heavyweight title as he re-engages with the man who beat him for the belt. Oh! Right hand up top! DC's hurt! Cormier in trouble! Oh, that's it! Stipe exacts his revenge!
They need to settle this once and for all.
This fight is for history.
I've accomplished everything that I've ever wanted to accomplish. I mean, I could have walked away, but my legacy matters to me. I have to right that wrong.
One of the greatest of all time, Daniel Cormier.
This fight's for legacy. This fight's for everything. I want to be remembered as one of the greatest fighters of all time. And this has huge stakes on it. The world's going to be watching. I have to win this fight.
Stipe Miocic, the most accomplished UFC heavyweight champion this octagon has ever seen.
Being UFC heavyweight champion is everything to me. I know I'm a better fighter. I'm going to prove it. Walk out with my belt. And still.
This is the fight that settles it all.
Absolute goosebumps. What's up, guys? This is Dave and Auken. We are about to have the fight breakdown of the trilogy, DC versus Stipe. And John Radford, I'm Dave Van Auken. John, what are we about to do?
Fight breakdown, fight breakdown, fight breakdown.
Oh, my good. Dude, I don't care how far we get, how long we go. It could be Fight Bananas 2030. We could have $1 billion set, but that's like the noise that every time we do a fight breakdown, that's what I want. I don't want no damn graphics. I want that fight breakdown.
That's right, man. This is my fun. This is always the funnest thing to do, I think.
I love it. It's really hard. There's so much MMA going on right now, especially post-pandemic, or I guess post kind of pandemic. And it's really hard to sink your teeth in with just one item or one fighter or one thing. And so it's cool that we have 10 minutes, 30 minutes, however long we go, we don't know, and we're all in. DC, Stipe 3, the trilogy, UFC 252, 10 different ways. What's next? The fight itself. Oh, I love it. I'm with you. It's bananas.
It's good. Exactly. It's bananas. But to piggyback off you for a little bit, like so much MMA is going on, right? So we used to be the little redheaded stepchild. We used to be the sore black eye of sports. We had all these things and controversies going on in MMA for the last 28 years now. You know, whether it's a good sport, bad sport, what it is, all these different things going on, never really got true publicity. What's the only sport really doing anything during this time, a year when we need it the most to have live sports? You know what I mean?
100%. And to piggyback on what you're piggyback on, and to me, it's been so positive and so successful. Like, people, I think, really were at odds about Fight Island, and then it was just a grand slam in the bottom of the ninth. You couldn't be any better. And then all these fights, and at the Apex, and Contender Series is back, and, it's just been awesome. Like, the major pay-per-views, fight nights, there's been Wednesday nights, there's been incredible fights, Poirier versus Hooker. There's been some great action in this post-pandemic MMA world that we live in.
And we got a couple more coming.
I know. And we have numerous of fight breakdowns we want to hit on, especially, it's just kind of obvious. UFC 252, 253, and 254. Stipe, DC. We got Costa and Izzy, and then we have Khabib and Gaethje. So just those three alone are just, to me, very, very epic matchups, huge title, just, legacy, all-time greats. Khabib, Israel Adesanya, and the winner of this fight can argue Mount Rushmore type of fighter. So we got some big shit to talk about, my man.
100%.
So, okay. So we're here. We're at DC Stipe 3. And Stipe won. Oh, I'm sorry. DC won the first fight on that.
By?
First, or was it second round TKO? Let me see this.
I believe it was the first round TKO.
Yeah, first round at the end.
I thought it was a knockout, actually. I think it was out.
I think so. So let's go first round knockout. That was UFC 226, 2018, July of 2018. DC defended the title against Derek Black Beast Lewis, who we might talk about later on. And then he fought Stipe again, 241, the rematch. And to me, I thought DC was winning the fight multiple rounds. Stipe with the great what can I say, like a plot twist, a change of direction, a change of method, whatever you want to go, really turned it up. Did a lot of boxing, a lot of body boxing, a lot of dirty boxing, and got the round 4 finish, which was epic. I thought it was easily, to me, Stipe's greatest performance and his biggest win of his career. You agree with that?
Well, with the way he adapted to it and started going to the body and realizing that Cormier is a hand fighter, and he was sliding underneath off of the right hand that he timed when he started hand fighting and hitting that liver shot, and just going to the body over and over. You can only take so many of those, you know what I mean, until your hands just drop, and it's just kind of like you got to let your face get punched. So that I think you're right about that. I think it's one of his best performances due to the adaptation, of it all. I think one of his other best performances when he fought JDS the second time.
Right. Like,
you know what I mean? That was a great performance, I thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm a guy. I'm always. You see the real of people when the shit's hitting the fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you go outside and it's sunny out and your car started with, and you got a full tank of gas and you ride to work, okay, things are good. But if it's raining and you have a low tank of gas and your car radio broke on the way to work, you really know who you are. So to me, that's where Stipe was. And then he got to work and literally put the fire hat on and went to work and got that win versus DC. So I love I'm going to use your word, the adaptation, the overcomeness that he did against that fight. I thought it was epic. I love it. And I think that's what brought us to this.
I think this is the reason. I think this is a true trilogy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
One guy won, and they both finished each other.
Yes.
Neither one of them walked out of that to the judges. We didn't see no judge.
Yes.
You know what I mean? In either one of these. So to me, this is one of those true, trilogies, because one guy won, but he won by knockout. The next guy won, but he won by knockout. And it's like, all right, here's a slobber knocker for you. Let's see what happens. Now, that's the fun part about this is I think somebody's strategy has changed.
Ooh. You want to get into that right away, or you want me to kind of up it a little bit more?
It's up to you. I mean, I can go right into it, or we could talk about it a little more. But yeah, there's
a couple more things. One, Stipe's 37, DC's 41. These are veteran type of fighters. I'm going to get into the DC retirement talk in a little bit. That's a part of my resolution, my prediction. I'm going to kind of throw that out there now. But both men have been around the block. Both men have been in the game. DC, what he did in the light heavyweight division, and what DC did in the heavyweight division before he got into the UFC, and now post. Stipe has the most successful title defenses in UFC history. There's so much. And then another thing I want to throw at you, I heard this stat, and then I looked into it, I'm like, wow. I think it's the most wins ever for a heavyweight championship fight in the UFC. Stipe has 19. Let me get this right. Yeah. Stipe has 19 and DC has 22 wins total, like career wins. It's like
so wait, so hold, but what? So you're saying that's the most wins in the heavyweight division
for a championship fight?
Okay, but doesn't Alistair Overeem have like 40 some odd fucking fights? And then add Stipe to that? That's more than Stipe and DC together.
Right. So that stat somehow is wrong, or maybe most wins in the UFC.
Or is it just the most wins in the UFC heavyweight division?
Right. But even, let's just be real, DC doesn't have a ton of wins in the heavyweight division because he has most of it's in the light heavyweight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. But I mean, I get what they're saying. If you're saying the most victories and like the best record, as far as the most victories, then I 100% agree. That's, I think they both only have like 3 losses or 4 losses at the most.
Yeah, combined they're 41-5. Like that's epic.
Yeah, that's you're looking at the 2 of the GOATs right there, right?
Oh, easy.
Is this for GOAT of the heavyweight?
Yeah, I was going to say, there you go. Finally, you said it. Let's throw that out there right now. To me, a lot of old school, and I get it. I get it if people want to throw out the Fedor name. the Randy Couture name. I totally get when people mention Brock Lesnar. I accept it. I thought you would like that. I thought you would like that. But no, the winner of this fight, John, to me is, I think it's kind of unquestioned, the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time.
Okay, agreed.
Right? It's
absolutely. Absolutely.
And people want to argue the whole DC thing, and I get it to a certain extent, but it's like, guys,
DC's going down as one of the greatest ever. He's just leave it alone. He may not be the greatest in either of the divisions that he's at, but he's going down as solidifying one of the greatest. He could be number 2 at the light heavyweight. He could be number 2 at the heavyweight, and he's still going to go down in history as one of the top fighters ever.
Right. Like, sooner or later, come on, guys. You just stack up all these wins, and people don't want to give him credit for that little run he had with in Strikeforce in the heavyweight division. You know what I mean?
That was an amazing run. That put him on the map to start with, people. So let's forget about that. That's a hell of a run he went through.
Right. So, and even
as an alternate, he won that as an alternate,
dude.
Because somebody fell out of the first round, he made it to the second, and then from that on, he beat everybody.
And you know, I'm going to throw this out there. In 2011 and 2012, when he won those 2 fights against Bigfoot Silva and Josh Barnett, I'm just going to say both men were maybe a little bit drinking orange juice. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
So, and then, not even that, I kind of forgot he fought 2 heavyweights when he jumped into the UFC. Then it was the whole Kane became the champion, and then he, transitioned to light heavyweight. He beat Roy Country Nelson and Frank Mir, like 2 iconic heavyweights.
Yeah, he has a great opponent list at both heavyweight and light heavyweight.
You ready for this one? Let me just throw 8 names at you real quick. Derek Lewis, Stipe, Anthony Johnson, Anderson Silva, Gus, Hendo, Nelson, Mir, Barnett, Bigfoot Silva. Like, come on. Like, holy shit. Holy shit. That's pretty deep. That's deep. But okay. And then
right?
Stipe.
Like, come on, people. It's like, oh, and did you mention John Jones?
No, I didn't mention him.
But you know what I'm saying, though? It's like
twice.
Right?
Yeah. And then with these,
he fought these guys.
Stipe defeated, of course, DC. Francis Ngannou, who everyone thinks is the, hottest trending heavyweight, the most dangerous heavyweight. JDS twice. The Reem, Verdum to win the title. Arlovsky, Hunt, Gabriel Gonzaga, Roy Nelson. Like, so he's done, Joey Beltran, who's the bare knuckle FC champ. So he's done his own path. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just his true success during a time where the heavyweights are pretty damn good in the UFC. Right. So that's what leapfrogs Stipe so much, is his success at the prime of the height of the sport so far.
Great point, brother. Great point.
You know what I mean? That's what you have to take that. So that's just like, you have to look at it like in the LeBron James, Michael Jordan category. The reason LeBron James is so great, not just because he's great, but because of his success at what people would call the pinnacle of basketball. I wouldn't, but a lot of people do. Right. So, you know what I mean? It's the same argument there. It's any of those things. So,
and to throw Francis's name back into it and kind of go on your point. I love your point, John. Stipe has multiple, 4 or 5 title defenses versus the best in the game. Like the hottest fighter, that quarter. Boom, he beat the hottest 4. Francis has never even won the championship. Like, he gets hot. He goes through these 2-3 fight win streaks. But when all the chips are on the table, when all the light is on and he's fighting for the number 1 spot in the organization, he drops. You know what I mean? Like, Stipe seems like when all those chips are on the table and the light is the absolute brightest, Stipe is like all in. Like, that's the best Stipe Miocic you see.
Yeah, definitely. He rises to the occasion. And for the most part, Daniel Cormier does too.
Oh,
so this is why this fight is epic. This fight is great.
So good. UFC 252 this Saturday night, Las Vegas at the Apex in a smaller octagon. Let's kind of get into it. Let's start breaking it down a little bit. I think I'm going to throw out the first little marble out there. I think DC is going to go back to the wrestling roots. He's going to try to get Stipe down, try to control the fight, try to ground and pound, I think this is his swan song, win or lose. I think he wants to throw a bow on his whole career and go out with a win and try to become the wrestler that he once was in his heyday. Am I onto something, or you think
Yes,
something different?
you're completely onto something.
Okay.
He realized that if he can't, this is going to be a dirty boxing and wrestling and grinding and takedown, and Stipe is going to have to really, really land a jab and, really keep him at distance, do a good job moving and stuffing takedowns and staying out of the clinch, I think, if he wants to be successful, because I think Cormier is going to be a little bulldog and come forward and hand fight as much as he can to get on the inside and just shoot takedowns, get him down, slam him to the ground, whatever he can do, hold him there, beat him up, whatever it is. It's going to be a very grueling wrestling type matchup if it goes to plan for DC, I think. I think what he said, get your wrestling shoes on, I don't think that was a joke.
Right.
I think that was like, straight up, bro, we're going to go 25 minutes of hell right here, and that's what it's going to be. And not saying Stipe can't do that, but that's definitely, I think, going to play into Cormier's, hand if he can make it that type of fight.
Right, bro. When you're at the pinnacle, or when I'm going to take it back to me a little bit old school, back in my b-ball days, when I'm in my prime and I know what I can do and I know I can do it on the opponent while telling them I can do it, I do it. I say, hey, I'm shooting this 36 feet out. You're not going to be able to guard me. You're going to leave me a little bit of room out here, 8 feet behind the three-point line, and I'm going to drop it on you. And there's nothing you can do. I think DC knows. I don't think there's no sugarcoating. I'm not saying both men are very cordial or respectful. I think they both are. I just think there's, in a way, and the older you get, the less games you want to play. I just think DC is just being real. He's like, guys, I'm wrestling. I'm going back old school. I can dominate him for 25 minutes, almost what Curtis Blades said against Volkov, earlier in the summer. This is what I'm going to do to him. I don't think he can stop it. It doesn't matter if I even tell him what I'm going to do. I think DC is going to wrestle in City. He's going to try to main event The Rock at WrestleMania. I think he's trying to beat DC in a wrestling match for 25 minutes.
I definitely think that's the way he wants it to go. And if he could get a ground and pound finish, or he could get the back, maybe, from a weird angle and try to get a choke in, something like that. But I think we're going to see a lot of things like that. Now, don't get me wrong. On the flip side, that does put you in danger for, wrestling. Like we've seen wrestlers get guillotined before. You don't know. Like DC's, obviously submission defense is probably top notch because it's mostly top pressure stuff that he gets himself into. You never see him on his back, ever. But, that still leaves him for a guillotine. Homeboy's got long arms. He can get that, around his little neck. Not his little neck, his big neck, really. And try to get that choke in. But at the same time, he could catch him with an elbow. He could do some dirty stuff of his own. Stipe being a good striker the way he is, he could, elbows on the inside, things like that. So hopefully, it can be to where in DC's book where he can get him to the fence, he can be the aggressor there, he can keep him nullified and stuff, and have enough pressure to where he can get him to where he can land the strikes, and he's not in much danger. But yeah, this is going to be who can put their impose their will of their game plan on the other person.
Right.
Type of fight.
And this is what I love so much about this fight is, if DC just wants to go to wrestle in City with Stipe, I think Stipe is amazing at wrestling defense, and he's long and mean and can throw, of course, so he can use his offense to not let someone want to wrestle you and be offensive. And then the same thing, if we all think that Stipe wants to keep it up and box and punch, DC can just do that amazingly as well. He had in the first fight, had that knockout standing up and then finished it, punching him down. And then even in, like I said, the second fight, he did use some wrestling, but I thought even round, if I remember, it's 2 or 3, they stood up for 5 minutes. I think there was one attempt. I don't think DC got it, but they were standing for 5 minutes, and I thought DC won the round too. So it's like, whatever the other opponent wants to do, the other opponent is great at defense or just giving it right back to him. That's why this fight is so good. That's why we're at a trilogy for the GOAT of heavyweight status.
It is. It's one of those things where, either way you look at it, like you just said, it's the reason why it's going to be such a great fight is because one does one thing really well and the other one is good at defense at that.
Right.
And the other one does the other thing really well, but the other one can do that too. But the only thing here is if DC wrestles, and what's supposed to be DC's bread and butter? Like, what is it?
If
like his skill is wrestling. Like his bread and butter A+ when it's on the.
Oh yeah.
Like when you fill out a Topps UFC card, you know what I mean, and you're putting his stats, and you have like punches, kicks, takedowns, wrestling pressure, whatever you want to put on there, jiu-jitsu, submissions, jiu-jitsu pressure, whatever it is, mine, whatever you're filling in all of the one that's like above and beyond ever, like doesn't have enough room to fill in is takedowns in wrestling, right? That's pretty much his thing.
Oh, of course.
That's like, he's the king of it. He's the best wrestler to come through the UFC. You know what I mean?
If criminals were breaking into the house, John, and they broke down DC's door and him and his wife are in bed, he gets up and starts to take down and wrestle the criminal. You know what I mean? Like that's his.
Yeah, he beats him. He beats the hell out of him with one simple takedown, picks him up, dumps him on the head, smacks him to sleep, and then it's like The Rock in the Rundown when he's just, taking dudes down, flipping them with one leg and, on the takedown and then smashing them in the face. It's he's doing that for real in real life. That's his thing. He takes you down and punches you in the face. So the only problem with this scenario is if Stipe is successful in the first round and let's say stuffs the first 4 attempts, it's not as grueling either. Let's say these attempts are like, I got to him, he separated, he hit me. And for some reason, he defended it perfectly, right? And he gets the first one. Say only 1 or 2 of those, where it's like, it's a struggle. They're on the fence for 30, 40 seconds, and then he gets away. If he stuffs all those, what does that do to Cormier's mental aspect as far as, the fight goes? Because last time you were knocked down on the feet and he absorbed all your punches. And now he just stuffed your 4 takedowns or whatever like that in your first attempts, and now he's keeping it standing. And in the exchanges,
right,
you're losing a little bit when you come out of it because you're going for the takedown while he's defending and popping you, right?
Oh, of course.
It really throws it for a loop because now if he starts to stand with him, is his full confidence still there?
Right. It's got to be mentally defeating. If he says, hey, I'm winning this trilogy, I'm winning my retirement fight in a wrestling match, and he goes to try to wrestle Stipe for 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and gets stuffed, or like you said, even if he gets him down once, but Stipe does the pop-up and kind of gets up, and there's no damage done, and, maybe he's trying to control the round, but you know how I hear it all the time, and you can probably tell me this better than the next time. To try to take another man down is exhausting. It's just brutal on yourself. So if DC in that, remember NBA Jam, you got the turbo, and your thing's going down, if DC does that more in the first 8-10 minutes and is, maybe even if he won the first 2 rounds, but if he's on 65% going into round 3 and Stipe's 90%, that's where I can see a late round, 3rd, 4th round technical knockout. I can see Stipe doing the hands, and DC's arms are a little bit lower because they're not as up as they should be because he's a little exhausted. So, man, I'm so intrigued. I love it. I cannot wait to watch it.
Now, you can do the exact same thing we just did with that and flip it. Let's say DC takes him down 4 or 5 times, doesn't really hurt him on the ground, but takes him down. And he keeps getting up, but he just keeps getting taken down. And it's not exactly hard. It's harder for you to get up than it is for DC to take you down. So you're doing that. And then finally when you get to your feet, you're tired now. And do you really have the confidence to throw punches because he's taking you down so easy? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So now the offensive game leans over to the guy who took the takedowns. That's why takedowns are so important in certain situations in fights like this, because if DC is landing the takedowns, even if he's not doing damage, he can now open up on the feet more because Stipe is not going to fire back as often because he's worried about the takedowns.
Facts.
So you can literally do the opposite direction. So this fight truly is probably, out of all the trilogies we've seen, probably the most well-rounded and interesting trilogy that we have as far as the fight itself, not the dynamic between the two, just the actual skill set of the fight and how it can play out. It's amazing. It's great. It was made for them to go out on this fight.
Right. And the betting lines, John, it's a pick'em fight. I think Stipe is minus 105, 115. DC's like the 105 back. I remember, and it's kind of crazy. Betting is getting so much more popular for mixed martial arts in the UFC. But I remember when GSP fought Matt Serra for the second time, the rematch. And, of course, it was in Toronto, and GSP had the home crowd and all that. GSP, as the challenger, was a humongous favorite. And like I said, I don't remember the betting line off the top of my head. Maybe we can look it up, and someone who's listening to it right now is like, oh, it's this. Okay. I just remember the feel. I remember who the commentators. I remember all of the fans were like, we all know GSP's winning this fight. Like, you know what I mean? It was kind of a foregone conclusion. GSP was retaining, going to get his title back. This fight, I've talked to 35 people, and it's been 17 one way, 18 another. I a lot of split. I'm pretty confident on the decision I'm going with. One of the first fight breakdowns you and I have ever did was Francis Ngannou and Cain Velasquez. And I think it was kind of similar, the betting wise, and it was very split. And I remember just I'm like, guys, no, Francis is absolutely winning this fight, and quickly. I remember so adamant about it. And that one I got right. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I feel like that in this fight as well. When I give you my answer, I'm 98% sure. People can be like, come on, this is a close fight. The Vegas, those big skyscrapers that make tons of money, has this equal. You know what I mean? It's a 50-50 fight. I'm pretty sure I know who's winning, though.
Okay. Who you got?
You want me to? Am I spilling the beans?
You can spill the beans if you'd like to, sir. I'm down for it. I'm ready.
Awesome.
But give me a little expo on why afterwards.
Oh, of course. Okay. The winner of the trilogy of UFC 252, the main event of the heavyweight, who will become the greatest UFC heavyweight, the greatest heavyweight of all time, will be Stipe Miocic. It's happening. Like, to me, there's just no doubt about it. One, I think in the smaller cage, everyone keeps on using the wrestling side of it. Yes, I get it. The smaller cage of Stipe is a lot closer to DC to throw some hands. So I'm just throwing that out there. I think DC and Stipe, they both, it's been 25 minutes in the octagon together. And I think Stipe, as to me, the better offensive striker, has more minutes underneath the belt and knows what jab splits him, what overhand right gets him, what body shot gets him. To me, Michael Jordan in a 2,000-minute game will win. I remember when they went 72-10, they lost to the Raptors once or twice that year. The Damon Stoudemire with the really cool purple dinosaur Raptors. But if they would have played, keeping going, sooner or later the best guy, Jordan, would have won. I think with more minutes in this octagon, I think Stipe gets it done. And my last little, bow on it is, in anything in life, man, if I start at 10:30 a.m., if I start thinking about Taco Bell for lunch, I'm going to go find a Taco Bell for lunch. In any relationship, when you start creaking out and thinking about other things, and a friend, a significant other, a family member, when you start, putting that little bit of doubt, the door cracks open. There's just way too much retirement talk. He's a commentator. He's with his family all the time. He said, this is my swan song. This is it. This is my last training camp. Like, I just think there's so much of it. I think it's too out there for him to I don't want to say he's not grinding, because I know he's working hard. I know who he is in his heart and his soul. He's a champion. I get it. I just think with that out there, I think Stipe's not thinking about retirement at all. I think Stipe's thinking about the next match, and Stipe Miocic will retain his UFC heavyweight championship.
All right, so the noises I was making over there was not because of who you picked, but I was hoping we would be on the other side of the coin with each other, but we're not.
Okay.
So I definitely agree with you. I think Stipe is going to retain it as well. I think he can nullify enough to bear where he can get his hands off. And I think, Daniel Cormier is now – I know he took a lot of time off. He's 41, though, and between fights and everything like that. But I think knockout by John Jones with a head kick in the finish, and then, now Stipe with the knockout, because, he ended up knocking him out to the head, knocking him out. his eyes definitely rolled back there for a good little minute. So it was one of those things where I think after that, at his age, 41, like you said, I think Stipe can get to it quicker and make it happen this time, before, Cormier can dominate for 25 minutes, because I think that's what it's going to take this time for Cormier to beat Stipe.
Right.
I mean, he can definitely still knock him out, don't get me wrong, but I think Stipe showed that he's going to be more aware of the power that Cormier has and everything like that, in the last fight and whatnot. So now I think if he can just, defend the wrestling and do the same thing, he's going to walk out as the GOAT of the heavyweight division, like you said. And there is a lot of pressure on DC, but I actually just think Stipe is going to be the better man that day. I think he's right. I think he can figure out the puzzle.
Right. And two more things. One, I think Stipe gets the job done inside the distance. This does not go 25 minutes. I would be really brutally surprised if it goes 10 minutes, to be honest. I think he puts him away. I hate saying the first round because it's so disrespectful to DC, but I think he definitely does between first round 1 or 2. And the second thing, I think it's almost this fight with no fans at the Apex benefits Stipe. And why I say that is I think, I remember saying it, I think it was a Fight Breakdown or maybe the whole show, and it was the first Joanna, Rose, MSG, and there's something about the fans, and I felt something magical about Rose and the fans and MSG, and it was just this magic in the air. Sometimes you can't explain Derek Jeter's last game ever. He literally gets up in the bottom of the ninth, tie game with the runner on second. It's like what? It's just there's this magic in the air, and Jeter got the job done. There's no fans.
Because he's the greatest, bro.
He is. But there's no magic in the air for DC. I don't think there's this magic dust with DC and his retirement fight and the fans. You know what I mean? I just think there's something very raw with no fans there and no in the crowd, and just this is it for DC. He walks away. He leaves the gloves in the cage. It's the trilogy of, you can argue, 2 of the greatest heavyweights of all time. The winner really catapults to the greatest of all time. I just think with no fans at the Apex, August, I think Stipe just gets the job done. I think that's where I'm at.
I'm with you, bud. I'm with you. I definitely agree with Stipe getting the job done. I think, what I think it comes down to is the fact that I think the crowds would be a little bit more for DC than Stipe, so right. I think it would help Cormier ultimately.
Especially in a retirement fight, especially with this magic.
Yeah. And I think this one right now is going to help Stipe a lot, because I think he'll be able to truly hear his coaches and let him stick to the game plan. And if the game plan starts to go well, they'll keep him on it. And, and I think that'll be extremely important, because it's not about you hearing the other person's coach or anything like that. It's all about the adjustments you make, and if you're going to be successful with it, with the original game plan and how it's working and everything like that. And if you can stick to it, if you have somebody to constantly remind you in the flurry of things there because you're being successful with it, that really helps. And I think that's going to help Stipe more than it helps DC, because I think DC, honestly, I think he listens, but I think he's also his own fighter in the sense, and his own coach in the sense that he has a certain game plan in his eyes, and you don't really have to tell him to get off of it or get on it. You might need to motivate him here or there, but you're not really coaching him as much as I think Stipe is when it comes to a fighter. Fighters are different. You know what I mean? I think Cormier is more about, motivating him and keeping his motor going. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean,
no, I agree.
I could be completely wrong.
No,
but
I see it.
That's how I view it, as if I was, when I see them, because if you look at it, DC is so elaborate when he is analyzing the fights, right? And he, like you said, I'm a cheat code. You know what I mean? Well, that tells me right there that you're thinking it out more than most people. I know when I fight, I have a certain game plan in my eyes. I'm listening to the coach, but at the same time, I'm registering what I see. You know what I mean? First. And then I know there's other ways, other coaches are different. A lot of times, here's an example, Frankie Edgar and Mark Henry. Mark Henry were just calling out combos, different code names for combos, and he was just rifling them off. You know what I mean? He's more of a fighter that's directed, in my opinion, when it comes to that.
Right.
And I think this is going to really help Stipe in this situation. I think he's going to be able to stay on point. I think he's going to be able to hear his coaches adapt and keep it that way. And they may have came up with the code, names for certain stuff, or they just may be like, hey, we're there to remind you all the things that we need to do to be successful. And you're going to constantly hear that from us. You know what I mean? Whatever it may be, but you'll be able to hear it now.
Absolutely, my man. So that's awesome. You and I fight breakdown, post-pandemic, first one. We have both Stipe Miocic winning inside the distance here. There's a bone I kind of want to pick with you. Do you want to do a future, like what happens next, what we kind of think will happen next, or do you want to just tuck it down to bed and I got something to pick with you? Where do you want me to take this?
If you want to see what's next for everybody, if you want to know, we want to call what's next for winner loser, that's fine with me. I think we know what's going to happen on the DC side either way.
Right, yeah. The win or lose, and I talked about this actually over the weekend too, with especially with Derek Lewis winning. If DC wins, I think he still retires, Lewis retires. So if he wins, to me, the belt goes into a vacant championship match. I think Stipe is not in it because he just lost this fight. I think it's very easy. It's Francis Ngannou. One, and they got two options. One, they can do a Lewis versus Blades sometime in, September, October. The winner of that.
Have we ever seen that? We haven't seen that yet, right?
Oh, exactly. That's right. So they're literally 3-4, and they've never fought each other. They both are kind of.
I think they need to fight each other,
right,
yes.
Totally agree. And then you can do the winner of that fights Francis. Boom. Or the left field thing is Francis gets in, and of course, I think there's something ironic about DC leaving the title and John Jones coming back to try to get that title that DC walked away, and they could have that epic, dream, super mega fight for the heavyweight championship, Francis and Bones. Like that could be that's a moneymaker right there.
Oh, most definitely, but I also could see if this is a 25-minute great fight, it's super close, DC wins on a decision, and he takes it and he walks away like we all think he does, I could see Stipe Francis right away.
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah, the rematch. Why not?
Well, I see it, and that's
brand new Francis.
No,
Stipe,
right.
Stipe, lost a close fight for the title in one of the easily going to go down as one of the greatest trilogies ever. You know what I mean?
No, I totally know what you mean. It's so funny because, and look at this, the opposite way. If Stipe wins, it's easy. It's Stipe versus Francis too. Like that's just automatically what happens. There's no arguments. There's no tricks. Boom. So I'm with you on that matchup. I just don't know with Derek Lewis and Blades both coming off of victories, and then them probably fighting each other probably pretty soon, and then you can argue Blades can get into that spot right now, or Lewis. But now if they fight each other and get a win over the other guy, to me that's a pretty. I know.
They fight for the title contender. Francis is in no matter what.
Right.
And I think it has to be a close fight, a really close fight, split decision or just a super close fight. 38-37 or whatever like that. You know what I mean? As far as the rounds go or the 5 rounds, 48-47 or
right.
whatever they break down to be. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see that.
So, it just has to be really, really close. If it's a finish, if it's anything like that, then no. I agree with you. Then no. Then they're going to do Francis and whoever wins between Blades and Derek Lewis. I think they fight no matter what. I think you have to. I
agree with that. And, if Stipe loses and somehow they can do Blades and Lewis, and if Blades loses, they can do Stipe and Blades, right back, and you have your Francis Ngannou for the title. Francis wins, and then you have Stipe and Blades go at it, and then, they can get back into it, and they can kind of get into a little, almost of a round robin. But like I said, I think Stipe wins, DC walks away and retires, and I think it's very easily, I think probably December, end of the year fight. They love doing those New Year's Eve kind of last mega cards, and I think Francis Stipe main events the last card of the year.
Yeah, I can see that.
Cool. All right, you ready for my bone? I got something for you, man. This is for at least an hour and a half today. I was like, I'm gonna call John. I'm like, actually, I won't call him. I'm gonna talk to him on the podcast. We're gonna go on Fight Bananas tonight. We're gonna do a fight breakdown. But there's something I got to bring up. You ready for this one?
Yeah, buddy.
So, John knows, I'm a busy man. We got kids just running around everywhere. It's if it's not laundry, it's dishes. We do family stuff. I got the work. We got fight bananas. It's on fire. So many humongous things happening. We were just at island fights over the weekend. It's a grind. You know that, right?
Oh, and I know you're the hustling of hustlers. You know what I mean? You're the man, bro.
So what kind of gets me through a lot of this time is John, the professor Radford, suggested or threw out. He used to drink him, so I'm like, let me see what this is all about. There's these Bang energy drinks. It's in like in a tall boy can, like a PBR can, and they're great. They're amazing. We get them at the house all the time. They're just John. You love them, right? I love them now. You're with me?
I don't drink them anymore.
Okay, you don't drink them anymore. So,
but I did love them. I loved them to death. I don't drink them anymore.
And we still do. So, like I said, I'm doing a lot. I'm getting a little bit older too. It is what it is, and I need something more. So I'm like, man, I'm trying to like figure out what's next. And I used to do once in a while those little 5-hour energies and those little little $4 little tubes. So I was at the gas station, my man, over the weekend, and I saw right next to the 5-hour, there's actually a small, it's Bang. Like literally the same little can, the same little thing. And it's like kind of they're saying, hey, we're going after the energy shots. So I'm like, wait a second, this has got to be amazing. Like John, walked me through the dark path of life to show me these great $2 tall boy Bangs. These are the short energy shots, and they're like $3.50. I thought it was a little pricey, but I'm like, man, this is probably going to get the job done. I'm a Bang fan. So I drank it today. And if I'm telling you, if I almost didn't drive my own self to the hospital because my heart was pumping out of my chest, and I'm an energy shot guy. I'm a 5-hour guy. Sometimes from Pensacola, we drive through the night back to Daytona, and we take one each. This was the hardest, most electrical body shot I've ever took in my life, guys. So Bang Energy, if maybe they might sponsor the podcast now. I don't know. But John, if you need a little bit of energy, oh my goodness.
Did you read how much caffeine is in that?
No, I just popped it.
Oh, next time, let's always read the bottle of how much caffeine is in something.
It was a life-altering decision I made, boy. How
long was that supposed to last for? 5 hours?
It got me through the night.
That's awesome. Awesome.
It was around 4:00, and I'm like, it was a grueling day. It's been a long weekend. I'm like, I got to get, we're about to get the kids, and I'm sluggish, and I know I got a long night here at the house. I know we're going to record a pod. There's TV on. There's like stuff I kind of want to get done. I'm like, I got to get something. I need a little kick through the night. And like I said, I saw it, and I almost wanted to show you first before I even drank it. I just went like, hey, John, this is awesome. The Bang. Oh, my goodness. Life-changing. Life-changing.
That's awesome.
Oh, my God. Cool. My brother, is there anything else, dude? That was awesome. That was probably the 38 minutes of straight fight breakdown. I loved it. But you and I are both on Stipe, retaining his UFC heavyweight championship at UFC 252.
Yeah, absolutely.
My man. I can't wait, man. I got to get back to the gym, bro. This COVID stuff's got to move away. You got to teach me that jab. I got to get back in there, man. I'm feeling a little sluggish.
We'll get it going, man. We'll get it going anytime you can come by. Family, maybe. Anytime you can come by.
I appreciate it, my man. John Radford, John_Nas on the IG. Give this man a follow. I love it. John, like I said, any last words, my man?
No, man, it was great. Everybody look forward to the fights, and look forward to more of these breakdowns coming out because we've got a string of UFC main events that are just amazing. So,
absolutely, there's so many great fight night ones. We can even do Covington Woodley. There's some.
I definitely want to do Covington Woodley.
Okay, cool. We'll hit up that, and like I said, there's a couple good ones, and then of course we got next month UFC 253. We got Izzy and Costa, so we might have to get back on the horn for that one. So my main man John Radford, appreciate your time. We'll talk soon. All right, brother.
Always.
Later. So that was the fight breakdown with John Radford. I'm David Auken. Definitely give me a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Dave Van Auken. Follow my main man, John Radford, on John_NOS on the IG. Thank you guys so much. Give our supporters all the follows as well. Fusion CBD products, Mako Tech mouth guards, Warhammer Fightwear, our family, our new family at RetroGrappler.com. Definitely give them, go hit their website, RetroGrappler.com. If you guys need a rash guard, and I'm talking about these cool, old school, funky G.I. Joe, X-Men rash guards, there's going to be something very, very cool, something very, very bananas in the works. We can't wait to see that, and so much more. Also, N-Still Nutrition. Check them out at nstillnutrition.com. Make sure you keep on subscribing to our Fight Bananas YouTube page. Tons of content. We just dropped the podcast with Dean Toole. We got Chelsea LaGrasse coming on as well. We got this fight breakdown. We got Inside the Distance, Bare Knuckles, and Bruise. We have a couple really cool things brewing for the week. I cannot wait. Keep sure you stay with us. We appreciate you, your time. Have a great day, guys. Stay blessed and stay bananas. I'm Dave Van Auken on Fight Bananas Podcast.